Hello friends, today I am going to reveal some true facts of general knowledge. World History Cold War. But first of all, I request you to please share and subscribe my channel for getting my informative true facts videos uninterrupted. Now Cold War. Cold War is the battle of ideologies. The period of Cold War was 1945 to 1991. It was communism vs capitalism. The Cold War was one of perceptions where neither side fully understood the intentions and ambitions of the other. This led to mistrust and military build-up. United States. US thought that Soviet expansion would continue and spread throughout the world. They saw the Soviet Union as a threat to their way of life, especially after the Soviet Union gained control of Eastern Europe. Battle of ideologies of Soviet Union. They felt that they had won World War II. They had sacrificed the most 25 million, about 3 lakhs total dead, and deserved the spoils of war. They had lost land after World War I because they left the winning side. Now they wanted to gain land because they had won. They wanted to economically raid Eastern Europe to recoup their expenses during the war. They saw the US as a threat to their way of life, especially after the US development of atomic weapons. The Iron Curtain. Alarmed Americans viewed the Soviet occupation of Eastern European countries as part of a communist expansion, which threatened to extend to the rest of the world. In 1946, Winston Churchill gave a speech at Fulton College in Missouri, in which he proclaimed that an Iron Curtain had fallen across Europe. In March 1947, US President Harry Truman proclaimed the Truman Doctrine. Policy of containment. Definition. By applying firm diplomatic, economic and military counter pressure, the United States could block Soviet aggression. I will repeat for your remembrance. By applying firm diplomatic, economic and military counter pressure, the United States could block Soviet aggression. Formulated by George F. Kennan, as a way to stop Soviet expansion without having to go to war. How it is possible? Ironically, the Soviets were looking for insulation from the capitalist West. The Marshall Plan. War damage and dislocation of Europe invited communist influence. Economic aid to all European countries offered in the European Recovery Program. $17 billion to Western Europe. Soviets refused the blame for dividing Europe fell on the Soviet Union, not the United States. And the Marshall Plan proved crucial to Western Europe's economic recovery. The Berlin Crisis, it is important, Berlin Crisis. US, Britain and France merged their zones in 1948 to create an independent West German state. The Soviets responded by blockading land access to Berlin. The US began a massive airlift of supplies that lasted almost a year. 7,000 tons a day in May 1949, Stalin lifted the blockade, considering that he could not prevent the creation of West Germany, the creation of East and West Germany, the creation of NATO. Stalin's aggressive actions accelerated the Americans' effort to use military means to contain Soviet ambitions. The US joined with Canada, Britain, France, Belgium, the Netherlands and Luxembourg to establish NATO, a mutual defense pact in 1949. Pledged signers to treat an attack against one as an attack against all. Pledged signers to treat an attack against one as an attack against all. When West Germany joined NATO in 1955, treaty that didn't help. Paris Paris Peace Treaty 1947, Yalta Conference, Tehran Conference, NATO, and Warsaw Treaty. Problems of the atomic age. The most threatening aspect of the Cold War was the constant threat of nuclear war. Russia detonated its first atom bomb in 1949. Truman ordered construction of the hydrogen bomb. Call for build-up of conventional forces to provide alternative to nuclear war. Nuclear confrontation. The Soviet Army had its command over 260 divisions. The United States, in contrast, had reduced its forces by 1947 to little more than a single division. American military planners were forced to adopt a nuclear strategy in face of the overwhelming superiority of Soviet forces. They would deter any Soviet attack by setting in place a devastating atomic counterattack. For the next quarter century, the US and the USSR would engage in a nuclear arms race that constantly increased the destructive capabilities of both sides. The fall of China. 1 lakh people walked 6,000 miles to escape from the Nationalist Party. 1 lakh people walked 6,000 miles to escape from the Nationalist Party. During the long march, Mao Zedong became the official leader of the party. During the long march, Mao Zedong became the official leader of the party. The Nationalist Republic maintained control through 1949. They improved transportation, provided better education to more people, and encouraged industry. However, peasants and workers' lives were not improved. In 1949, the Communist Party wins the Civil War. It is important. In 1949, the Communist Party wins the Civil War. Mao declares China a communist state called the People's Republic of China. The People's Republic of China. Chiang Kai-shek and the Nationalist Party flee to the island of Taiwan and establish the Republic of China. First stage of communism. Land was seized from the wealthy and given to the peasants. A 5-year plan brought all industry under the government control. Peasants combined their land to form collective farms. The Great Leap Forward. Collective farms became huge communes, 25,000 peasants living together. Poor production, drought and floods caused one of the worst famine in history. In 2 years, 20 million people starved to death. 20 million people starved to death. Cultural Revolution, removing the competition. To maintain control, Chairman Mao launched the Cultural Revolution to remove opposition to the Communist Party. The Cultural Revolution punished people who spoke against communism or the government. Artists were forced to create propaganda supporting communism. Korean War period 1950 to 1953. After World War II, Korea divided at 30th parallel. North was communist, South was not. Cause 1950, North Korea invaded South Korea, supported by Soviet resources. UN, led by US and General Douglas MacArthur, sent forces to push back communists. Soviet boycotting UN for US refusal to allow Red China into UN Security Council. China sends hundreds of thousands of troops to push back UN. Result, ceasefire and border at 30th parallel restored, is still in existence today. Arab nationalism. Arab nationalists loosely united by opposition to colonialism and migration of Jews to Palestine. Arab nationalism. Arab nationalists loosely united by opposition to colonialism and migration of Jews to Palestine. Balfour Declaration in 1917 indicated Britain's favored the creation of Jewish national home in Palestine, opposed by Saudi Arabia. Balfour Declaration in 1917 indicated Britain favored creation of Jewish national home in Palestine, opposed by Saudi Arabia. Great Britain announced its withdrawal from Palestine in 1948. United Nations voted for creation of 2 states, one Arab and one Jewish. Palestinians vote to fight on until the state of Israel is destroyed or until they establish their own independent Palestinian state. Led to the several wars and numerous conflicts in the late 20th century. Cuban crisis, Cuban Missile Crisis. Simulation of the Cuban Missile Crisis. Vietnam. The Geneva Peace Accord, signed by France and Vietnam in the summer of 1954, provided for the temporary partition of Vietnam at the 17th parallel with a national election in 1956 to reunify the country. In the north, a communist regime supported by the Soviet Union and the People's Republic of China set up its headquarters in Hanoi under the leadership of Ho Chi Minh. The United States prevented the elections that were been promised under the Geneva Conference because it knew that the communists would win. The North Vietnamese used classic Maoist guerrilla tactics. Guerrillas must move through the peasants like fish through sea. That is, the peasants will support them as much as they can with shelter, food, weapons, storage, intelligence, and recruits. In early 1973, the Nixon White House convinced the Saigon that they would not abandon the Soviet Vietnamese army if they signed the peace accord. On January 23, therefore, the final draft was initiated, ending upon the hostilities between the United States and North Vietnam. The Paris Peace Agreement did not end the conflict in Vietnam, however, as Saigon continued to battle communist forces. German reunification. The German reunification. German nationalism slowly began to show in the early 1800s. Germany was divided into a number of smaller states and desired unification within them. Their goal was to become completely independent, out of the control of all other nations as they had been in the past. Factor of reunification. National factors. Dissatisfaction with socialism. The economic situation in the GDR. The majority of West Germans wanted to be reunited with the East Germans. Regions. Especially between the USSR and China. China and the USSR became enemies since the mid-1960s. Both of them feared being isolated and were keen to create better relations with the US. The change of American policy. The defeat in the Vietnam War drove the US to adopt the non-commitment policy in the 1970s. The fear of a nuclear war. That is the reasons. Both knew that war meant global destruction, led to arms limitation talks. The burden of military expenditure, high cost of the arms race affected the development of the country. Both the US and USSR wanted to use its own resources to develop its home economy and to solve problems of home poverty. In our next video, I will tell you more about the war history. Thanks.